jet aircraft with two engines in the rear. They've kind of changed it from my original design, but this design of aircraft with the twin engines in the back, we flight tested a version like that. I guess that one's okay, but the ones that we had that we were flight testing, I originally flight test, or I didn't actually do it myself, but my company, we were messing around with some of them, and they actually got a lot of bad reviews. It's really more of a matter. Well, I had the engines up there because of the fact that for belly landings and stuff, but usually the sparks and everything, and actually the engines are actually better to have underneath you because it gives some cushioning to basically landing, because otherwise the fuel tanks explode and basically everyone dies pretty much because all the fuel leaks out from the fuel tanks. Although they've tried to kind of buffer the underside so there's some wear to the things so that it doesn't immediately spill out fuel because lots of aircraft accidents. But anyway, though, but those are they're a perfectly valid aircraft. But pilots hated them because they're always tail heavy because the engines are back there. It's usually they like the ones with the engines underneath a lot better. I mean, you can go either way, but we flight tested those things and they had a lot of bad reviews from the pilots. But I guess with engines down, we didn't. The ones that we were flight testing where the engines were a little bit further back and up, and I don't really know if I didn't really request it. I think somebody was doing it. I don't know, because I had the rest of them, like I had the patents for the engines underneath and everything else like that. Not that I don't actually. Let's see. Are you actually seeing that? Yeah. I don't know. Anyway. They're a good aircraft and everything like that, but the ones that we did where the engines were further back, but they were always tail heavy and pilots hated them. Pilots like the ones with the engines underneath the wings best, I think. I mean, well, it's it's an issue of sometimes there's a little bit of it pushes. It kind of, with the engines underneath, when the plane's like thrusting, it tends to push the aircraft up a little bit because they're actually pushing from underneath and not. So, I mean, we were trying to do it with them in the back, but also engine noise was also an issue and all that. So eventually, me and my experts at the time basically decided the engines underneath were the best way to go, and then just to correct for the thing. It's a question of top speed and most efficient and all that other stuff. Because if you're thrusting like this, then basically you have to counter for that. So I was kind of like leaving it open to the people. But then again, with the extra noise that the engines produce, they thought better to have the engines out because they're really noisy engines. Until we've gotten quieter engines. Anyway, useless stuff, basically, because I was LS flight, I invented the wing, the perfect wing shape and all that other stuff. Well, not necessarily perfect, but pretty good. And I started building them first and a long time ago, so. Anyway, so I knew about most of the different designs and stuff. And some of my bombshells, like the ground effect jet that the Russians built. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry about that. I'm really sorry. I thought it might be kind of cool, but it turns out it's not, and it was really a big waste of money and time. And I guess they just built it because I was thinking about it and wanted to see it, but I didn't want anybody to go broke on it. But and I guess they were very well paid, I hope. And it was just kind of one of those silly things, and I only wanted one, if that, because it turned out to be, it barely worked at best, and it was basically just a dog and probably a bad idea. But it was still cool. It's still cool to look at, and I'm still kind of glad they did it anyway, because it's history now. So. Anyway, though, it just didn't turn out to be particularly valuable or useful because the waves, it would only work on a lake without wave action. They really didn't do that good with the waves because the waves, I don't know, it's just not. Anyway, they're still kind of cool though, but they could fly about 10 feet off the ground or so, or 20 feet or something like that. Not very high though. They actually could get above ground effect. The whole idea is that it lifts up on ground effect, and then it can kind of rise up a little bit. But you know, engines don't really work close to the water, and I think there was an overheating problem or something like that. So engines like jet engines like moving really fast, like 500 miles an hour, it's a lot of speed. So yeah, whatever. I don't know. It was worth a try, and they did take a couple trips. It did do some ferrying and stuff like that over waterways. So and it was used a little bit, just it never paid for itself. But anyway, whatever. Anyway, it's my fault. LS's fault. You can blame Lucifer. You can blame Lucifer for a lot of things. Not killing the zombie tribe, certain jets. Well, I mean, it was good to play around with it and experiment with it, so. Anyway. I didn't really think they would actually build a big one, though. It worked better, I guess, as a small one. I don't know. Yeah, it's one of my... I've had my mistakes. I have. Unfortunately. It's true. I've done some things, or someone did some things. Well, you know, I mean... Anyway, though, we've tried to put the engines as close to midship as possible, or at least, because you know what, you want to, if you're thrusting like that, it's actually best anyway. But whatever. Won't matter anyway. So, oh well. Yeah, it's funny. I've done all these things and all these projects and built all these epic things and been this epic creator and everything, and oh well. You know, like I say, they couldn't really outdo me. They could only kill people, and they just stole money. And basically, I'm just not psychotic like they are. It's like, I'm not going to go through great amounts of effort to look rich or be rich or anything like that, or scam people. And I'm not really into that. So, wow. Besides, like I said, I had lots of epic things built in my honor and my name, like a 7 mile by 7 mile pyramid that's 700 feet tall. But not here, I don't think. Well, I mean, it was thousands of years ago. And it was really cool. My exoskeletons built it for me. Because they're cool, like that. They didn't have anything else to do. Like I say, my exoskeletons were an advanced race, and they're like, now what? And they're like, build this, build that. Like, I love my exoskeletons. They're really awesome. The best ever. Like I said, one time, there was an exoskeleton that was dying or going to be changed over to humanoid or whatever. And I was like, it's just an exoskeleton. And the woman looked at me and said, you don't mean that. You know that. And I was like, you're right, I don't. Like I said, at one point in time, I didn't have any feelings myself. I didn't really care. It was thousands or millions of years ago. Yeah, like I said, getting feelings and getting compassion is something that I had to learn over trillions of years. Originally, I was just very much like a computer. I didn't have any feeling. I didn't really have any compassion. Well, I did. Well, I wasn't needlessly vicious, though. That was my saving grace, is that I didn't particularly feel the need or desire or want for life forms to be hurt or killed. I just looked after the general efficiency and basically stuff like that. And over time, over thousands of years, I should get into that.